Thanks again to Carbon Health for being our presenting sponsor. If you are a regular here, you know I've talked about Carbon Health and how long I've talked about Carbon Health and why I love Carbon Health. They help with things like COVID, cold, flu testing, antibiotic prescriptions for things like infections, UTIs, STDs. They have primary care services in California and Massachusetts. But if you're new here, thank you, by the way, for stopping by. You should also know that they can help with injuries as well. Most of their locations have imaging or x-ray machines so they can diagnose strains, sprains, and fractures if you unfortunately become injured. And I know, unfortunately, not everyone will be near one of the 120 plus locations, but they do have virtual urgent care services for states like California, New York, Florida, and several others. So thank you to Carbon Health. Really, really happy to be working with them. Check out the link in the description. What's going on, everybody? Big thing. Was Helen Mirren the prototype of an older Rey that Damon Lindelof wanted? Is that why he was cast out? Because he wanted to do a movie 60 years into the future? That's the rumor. That's the rumor running around right now. You got that. Other rumors. Looks like apparently Marvel has made an offer to Johnny Storm. Who is it? We'll talk about that as well. Mario's going to cross $1 billion. That's something to talk about as well. We have an interview with a comedian I think is going to be massive. I think he's going to be a massive, massive comedian. It goes by the name of Opey. Myself and Brett Sheridan had an opportunity to sit down and talk with him, and we chat stand-up comedy and more. So it's a shorter show today, but nonetheless, it's going to be a fun show, hopefully a knowledgeable show and an entertaining show for you guys. If you're brand new to the channel, you've never been here before, well, thank you, first of all, for joining us, but make sure you show a little bit of class and hit that button, trying to get to 100,000. I didn't say you didn't have any class if you don't. I just said that you're showing a little bit more if you do. Spotify, we're on video, man, so you can check us out there, should you please. We got a live show coming up. That's right. June 23rd, everybody. June 23rd in New York City. We just did our live show in Los Angeles. Went off really well. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But, June 23rd in Manhattan. June 24th in Stamford, Connecticut. Tickets are on sale at thekristianharloff.com. Streaming also available, but we hope that you're going to join us. It's going to be some great shows. But what we're going to talk about right now is everything that I just mentioned and more. So let's get into it today on this Monday. It's the big thing. Let's do it. I'm ready. You're ready. Let's go. What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me. Back on a Monday. I like shows like this, though. It's like the post-storm shows. Good storm. A lot going on the last 2 weeks. Went to CinemaCon for like a day. Did the out of the theater for Flash. Did the out of the theater for Guardians. Had a big Katie Sackhoff interview that a lot of people checked out, man. I found a lot of new people have been finding the show through that interview. So again, if you're brand new to the channel and that's how you found us, welcome. Welcome, welcome. When we were out at doing the live show at Flappers this past week, and people were like, hey, I keep seeing the clips from the show going around. And even the interview that we have today with Opey. He was like, it's funny, as soon as after I met you guys, I started seeing the clips of the show going around. So the word's getting out there. So if you're able to spread the word, share some clips, tell people about the big thing, we appreciate it greatly. So we thank you. I'm going to start right away with this story about Damon Lindelof. And it's a big one, guys. So this is from comicbookmovie.com. New details have emerged about Damon Lindelof's scrapped plans for his Star Wars movie, including the fact that it was going to be set 6 decades after the Rise of Skywalker, with Helen Mirren eyed for the old Rey. They say there's been a lot of discussion surrounding Damon Lindelof's Star Wars movie this past week, especially after the filmmaker was confirmed that he was asked to leave the project. While the version of the movie announced at Star Wars Celebration will be set 15 years after the events of The Rise of Skywalker, we recently found out that Lindelof's movie was set to revolve around an elderly Rey. Talking on John Roca's podcast, the Hot Mic, insider Jeff Snyder shared a few more details. He confirmed that Lindelof was indeed fired. He says the story would have taken place 6 decades after the Skywalker conclusion, with Rey training a male and female Jedi. There would have been played by 2 black leads, though Snyder states that the male actor who was since walked away was not Yahya Abdul-Mateen. And the biggest bombshell, however, is that rather than bringing Daisy Ridley back and using VFX to make her appear older, Lindelof's casting pick would have been Helen Mirren. She was never in talks for the role, but she was the prototype for what the writer wanted. Snyder wraps up by saying that the script simply wasn't very good and cast doubt on Knight's version having much in common with Lindelof's. It also sounded like Finn wouldn't have been part of that original vision, though he and Oscar Isaac's Poe Dameron could return in the upcoming one with Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. Lindelof clearly hoped to jump much further into the galaxy's future, skipping the formation of the new Jedi Order and taking us to a point where Rey's life is nearing its end and she's in the midst of training 2 Jedi Knights. It would have been an interesting move away from the Skywalker saga, but it's clear now that Lucasfilm has other ideas. Interesting. All right, there's so much to talk about with this in general, right? It's tough. This is a tough story. Do I believe it? I do. I do believe it. Not only because of Snyder breaking it and talking about it. Snyder's Star Wars peeps have kind of been on point, obviously, with the Filoni scoop and other things. To be completely honest, I kind of heard the same thing before I even heard from Snyder. I heard rumblings of a lot of the same stuff. That it was going around, and it was totally different people with the same exact story of what Snyder talked about. So I believe this 100%. I believe that she was the prototype of what Lindelof wanted, Helen Mirren, obviously. 60 years into the future, all that stuff. I believe all of it. Now, there's another report out there, too, that Obaid-Chinoy and Lindelof didn't get along. How true that is, I don't know. That I didn't really, that one I didn't hear, but I just kind of heard it kind of going around. A lot of these things kind of match up where it seems as if, and Lindelof was brought in to create a project. They announced, or they didn't necessarily always announce him, but he came in and he confirmed that he was doing this project. And I think, again, Snyder was the one who heard all this first and broke it, that he was working on a project. And so he does. And he comes up with this story, let's say, putting these facts in there, 60 years into the future with an older Rey, with 2 new people, almost doing with the Helen Mirren character, or older Rey, we'll say, older Rey, as serving as like the Obi-Wan Kenobi of the story. Now, to me, that sounds interesting. That sounds like a way to connect the character through, but not be handcuffed to anything that you did in the trilogy, because 15 years later, that's still time away, but it's still connecting enough. 60 years to me is a lot of time to establish what the hell has been going on. I mean, it's significantly more time than, let's say, between episode 3 and episode 4. I think there was like 19 years or whatever it was. So 60 years would be one of the biggest jumps that you'd have inside of that whole timeline, and getting away ultimately from the Skywalkers if she is, it's kind of towards the end of her run, and having someone, we don't know if he got Helen Mirren, just again a prototype, but let's say they did get Helen Mirren. I mean, how great would that have been? I mean, but come on, she's doing Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and she's done so many other different things, Fast and the Furious. Well, why wouldn't she have done Star Wars? I think they could have gotten her. But either way, the idea of it, the 60 years later, establishing this whole kind of new era, so far detached from episode 9. I love that idea. Now, do I think that they should have went in the direction that they're going right now, 15 years later? Not really. Do I think it makes financial sense? I do. And I understand it. And I get why Kathleen Kennedy would get nervous at this, because there's no one attached to it that have sold Star Wars tickets. And even if you get Helen Mirren ain't going to get butts and seats the way Daisy Ridley is. Now, don't give me this whole thing, but it was so divisive, the other movies. And I made this point 100 times over. I'll make it again. I don't like those movies. They all made $1 billion. I like The Force Awakens fine, you just kind of know what happens afterwards. They made $1 billion, each one of them. But each one made less than the last. They made $1 billion. They made $1 billion. Disney needs $1 billion in their bank account right now. Now, does it necessarily guarantee you that with Daisy Ridley it's going to make $1 billion? No. But there's less fear as of putting in your first movie that nobody knows 60 years later with an older Rey that people have to then say, well, that's not Rey. Why don't we just go get Rey? You know? So I can understand the panic and why a producer and an executive that's trying to make money would make that call. I get it. And then so, well, then we'll put Finn in there, and then we'll put Poe in there, and then we can get Daisy Ridley. I also heard Daisy Ridley kind of came in, not while Lindelof was there. It was after he was gone. And that was kind of, yes, she was taking meetings, but I heard she hadn't signed on. I don't think she was supposed to, like you said, she was part of his story. So that makes sense to me. Now I had heard that. That makes sense. So, when you're looking at that, but creatively, what would I rather have? Lindelof's version. No doubt about it. Because it's more of a risk. There's no doubt about that either. But I'd rather to see the reverse Obi-Wan side of it, what the world looks like 60 years after Rey has clearly established a new Jedi Order. There's new Jedi kind of running the shop. Hopefully there's no other kind of First Order, Empire, all that stuff. But 15 years allows you to take the cast that made the $1 billion in each one of those movies, quietly reunite them in cameos and things like that. And it also doesn't, and you can also do it as a one-off if you want to. So on a business side of things, I get it. I understand also why probably Lindelof was canned. Because what happened was he was probably adamant that that's when he wanted to do it. That's where he wanted to do it. They didn't like his script. And then whether you believe the rumor or not, he didn't know that Abed Chinoy was coming in to direct. He just got paired with her. And he was like, well, wait a minute. This is not the same kind of deal that we had. And this does go back to what I do think is bad management inside of Kathleen Kennedy's part of it. Because this is, will establish what you're going to do with the person when you're creating stuff. If it's like, hey, because if you're just going, I just need a script from you. And then that's it. You're gonna turn in your script, because this happens all the time too. Here's an idea. What's your idea? Okay, we'll present the script and then you're out. Okay, that's all I'm doing. You're just paying me to write one draft, and then you could re-up me or not. It doesn't seem like that was the case. It seemed like he was being told that this was going to be his Star Wars project, and he was going to be a little bit more involved than he ultimately was. And then they were like, "No, we don't like this. Forget it. We're bringing in other people now. See you later." That's what it seems like. But I do believe the story 100%, 100%. And it's not as easy to say, oh, this is a terrible decision by Lucasfilm to do this, because creatively that story is more interesting. I think it's more interesting, but I also very much understand that if you're right out the gate with or 2019 to 2025 is when this movie's coming out, and that's your first movie that you've got coming out since 2019, and Disney's going, where's our Star Wars movies? Oh, well, we got one coming out in 2025. Is it going to make money? Well, we got to do the money ball, and we think that if we put these things together, yeah. This is the Kathleen Kennedy that is really good. And people who don't understand, as a producer, she's got to come up with the tools to put money in the bank. You cannot blame Solo on her. I think that movie makes significantly more money if it comes out in December of that year. That was Bob Iger's fault. And I love Iger, but it was Iger's fault. All of her movies that she produced, whether you like them or not, and I'm not a big fan of a lot of them, they all made money. Now, do I think that that's the way Lucasfilm should be run? I do not. I think it should be run with movies that can make money plus are creatively satisfying to the fans. But you're looking at the corporate side of things, and on the corporate side of things, if that's the way she's playing ball, she doesn't give a shit if you don't like her. She doesn't give a shit if I think that she's not good at her job. She gives a shit if she's putting $1 billion in the bank account, and that's what she's aiming to do. She's not caring if I give her shit for not being part of a canon. She doesn't care what some nerd is talking about. Oh, good asshole. You can complain about getting invited to a fucking theme park again. I'm gonna go put $1 billion into the account, asshole. Fuck off. I'm gonna go make an Indiana Jones movie, and she's got the right to say it. But it doesn't mean I can think she's a good creative executive, because I don't. I think she's a good producer. People argue about it all the time, but this is the thing. This is where you can argue. I think that if anything shows to this woman of how, like, the producer versus the creative exec, the move here to put Daisy Ridley, again, if it's true, which I do think it is, if the move here is to put Daisy Ridley in the movie for $1 billion, to make $1 billion, that's the producer that's going to put the pieces together to get that done. That's what a great producer is, if it happens and if she makes that money. Right. The bad creative executive is not taking a chance and saying, hey, let's make this, let's go for it. You want to go for an older Rey? You want to try to establish a new kind of 1977 lore Star Wars, again, with brand new things that are happening that's so many years into the future, everything kind of leaving in the past. Go for it. What can you hit? What are the new philosophies? What are the new ideals? That's not what she does. Now, the flip side of all of that is that Stephen Knight could come in and do just that inside of this 15-year period, and we'll all be wrong. And she's going to say, "Oh yeah, I was always planning to do both." I just don't happen to think that that's the case. Anyway, what say you guys? What do you think? Do you think that this is a good move? Do you think this is a bad move? Do you think that this is true, false? What say you? Very curious to hear what you think. All right. Next one. These Fantastic Four rumors are starting to heat up, if you will. Pun intended, I guess. Another Fantastic Four rumor here. This is from Comic Book Movie. The report is claiming that Marvel Studios has offered the role of Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, to Paul Mescal. Now, another day, another Fantastic Four rumor. This time it's not for Sue or Reed Richards. And according to insider Daniel Rickman, recent Academy Award nominee Paul Mescal for Aftersun has been offered the role of Johnny Storm. They don't know if they accept it or not, but he's highly in demand, and he's set to play the lead in Ridley Scott's Gladiator sequel, which was scheduled to be filming soon. No cast members have been announced yet for the reboot. Mila Kunis has recently revealed she knows who's going to appear in the movie, possibly just as Invisible Woman, so we might get word soon. That's interesting. I don't know how that happened. Adam Driver is said to be in talks to play Mr. Fantastic, and apparently Galacticus and Silver Surfer are expected to appear. Matt Shankman is on board as director, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so I don't know enough about Paul Mescal. I have not yet seen Aftersun. I hear amazing things about it, but I just think that as this is one of those things that once you start to get closer and closer to actual casting, more and more of the reports start coming out, like the Adam Driver stuff and Sue Storm and all that. I do think that it's going to be Jodie Comer. I do think that it's going to be Adam Driver, and it's very possible now with Mescal that this could be the first three that are cast. Anyway, I still am hoping, fingers crossed, that we're getting a Doctor Doom. That is Henry Cavill. Really hoping that. I think that would be such a Johnny Damon goes to the Yankees move by Marvel. I'd love to see it happen, but I don't know if it will. I would love to see it. But I think this is again, it's always hard to say whether it's true or false. Do I think that he went into Reed? Yeah, I think that there's probably enough possibilities that someone leaked that out, that he went in there, that's getting closer. I think it's very possible. I can't wait to hear, because I think that once, and Guardians Volume 3 really made me realize this, that as much as I love multiverses and all that too, I'm really looking forward to the day when that's over and it's done and the heavy focus is just on X-Men characters and Fantastic Four. And that's what it really seems like it's going to be. And I realized also, I think that, you know what it is right now? It's like, you look at like a really popular television show, like a really popular television show that was like the biggest ratings getter of all time. And then they tried to do a couple spin-off shows. And the spin-off shows did okay. They did fine. But it's just not the same as when the main cast was running around until they put together a new main cast. And I think right now we're in spin-off mode of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I think that even though some of the main cast of the main show look, Guardians and Ant-Man, I think definitely kind of dropped the ball. I didn't mind the movie. Still didn't mind it, but I can see why so many people didn't like it, and the end is a mess. So I understand why I don't think it broke even. So and I'm not surprised. But Guardians 3 should deliver. It's a fantastic movie, and I'm not a big Guardians head, but I love this movie. But they need to do more of this kind of stuff, and I think Fantastic Four could be a good establishing way to set up new characters of this inside the new phases. And I know that Fantastic Four is coming inside of, is it phase 5 or is it phase 6? It might be 6. Either way, I hope that they're established in 6 and they continue on past the next 2 Avengers movies, and then they really focus in on X-Men films. But we'll see. We'll see how it is. We'll see how it goes. I'm very curious. Last story before we move on to our interview here today. Super Mario Brothers. It has officially smashed past the 1 billion mark after 26 days of release. As of Sunday, the film has grossed $490 million in North America and $532 million internationally. It's only the 5th film to do since 2020. The other 4 being Spider-Man No Way Home, Top Gun Maverick, Jurassic World Dominion, and Avatar The Way of Water. The film grossed a further $40 million its 4th weekend, easily beating out Evil Dead Rise in second with $12.2 million. And newcomer Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret was disappointing debut of $6.8 million in 3rd place. Okay. So when it comes down to it, this movie crushed, whether you liked it or not. I saw it twice. I took my kids to see it, and it's a really fun movie. I look forward to seeing the second one. But it crushed, and it's a $1 billion winner. And the next question is, what's going to be the next one? What's the next movie that's going to do it? Will Guardians do it? I don't know. I think it's got a shot. I think I said I think it's got a shot. I think I said kind of definitively yes when asked. And I started thinking about it too. It's really not that easy. And I think the way it's trending right now, and whether it's past Marvel stuff, I don't know. I'm not as confident. I think that it should. Let me be clear on that. I think that it should make $1 billion, Guardians. Do I think it will? I don't know anymore. But I hope so. I hope it does. What else could? Mission Impossible? I don't know. Fast and Furious. I don't know how Fast and Furious does it all the time. Fast and Furious. I never thought Fast and Furious would do it, but it does it all the damn time. So I can't count that out. I can't talk. I definitely can't talk, but I can't count that out either. What do you guys think? What do you think the next $1 billion movie is going to be? What do you think it should be? It should be, and let's say would be, because I think there's a lot of movies that should, like Dune 2 should be, but it won't be. What do you guys think will be the next $1 billion movie? Flash? Will The Flash have a chance to do it? Maybe. It's a pretty good movie. I want to hear your thoughts. Okay, we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to go to an interview that when we did, first of all, let me tell you about this. This past Friday, we just did a live event at Flappers Comedy Club. And we did Big Thing Live, but we all did stand-up comedy sets. I went back up. I did about 20 minutes. Coy was up. Kate, Brett, Winston was up there. And then we did the podcast portion. And we did Sith Council, Capes and Cowls, and Roxy and Brett and Kate came up at the end, kind of Big Thing proper, and we closed it out. And it was a lot of fun. The audience was great. We're glad to be doing it again in New York. But it was so much fun, just a packed out crowd doing it, and to get back up there to do stand up and watching everybody kind of doing. That's always what I wanted to do, was the stand up portion first, have some good laughs, lead into the podcast, and it was that and then some. And it was great to see so many people out there and to do that, and Flappers was amazing. And at one of those shows, kind of leading up, I do the Jake Lewis comedy show. And I've been doing it at Flappers. I've been kind of working on some stuff there. And while I was going up and doing stuff, I was there one night with Brett, and Kate was there watching us in the audience. She just came by to support. And while we were there, we saw a comedian by the name of Opey, and I hadn't heard of him. I mean, I'm also not as plugged into the scene like I used to be, but And I talk about it in the interview itself, so I don't want to kind of repeat what I'm going to say, but like this guy really stood out. And I was like, holy shit, man, this guy's funny. And I was like, how is he not famous already? Because he will be. And he's really, really good. I want to talk to this guy. I want to get him on the show. And I approached him afterwards, and when he was very nice, very complimentary on Brett and I on our set. And then we were planning in for him to come in, and I had gotten sick and a couple other things happened. He wasn't able to come in, but he finally came in and he talked to Brett and I, and we had a really long conversation about stand-up comedy and in general. And I really want you guys to get to know him and meet him, because he's gonna be around, man. He's gonna be around. So check it out. This is my interview. Brett and I talked to Opey. I hope you enjoy it. And before we do, I also want to tell you about our two sponsors, both Sunday and Athletic Greens. We are very excited to be talking about our next partner here. I take AG1 by Athletic Greens every day. I've been talking about them for months. It's coming up on years at this point. For me, I take it in the morning as the day's getting going. I put it in a water bottle. I shake it up. Done. It gives me good energy. I've been talking about it forever. Brett loves it. Katie Sackhoff loves it. Why? Because it just makes it simple. You just I'm not a big like vitamins guy. I like one shot, done. For me, it helps energy, sleep quality, and I just never understood, why would you take a bunch of different things? You can just take one scoop of powder in water once a day, and you're good. It's a good life hack. It's really great. That's why I love and I trust AG1 by Athletic Greens, and so many of you guys do too now, since hearing about it on this show. It gets delivered to you once a month. Very easy to make it a daily habit. I get the travel packs when I go on the road, when I'm doing the Comic-Cons and things. It's so easy. You just take care of your body each day, and it's that simple. So if you're looking for an easier way to take supplements, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/bigthing. athleticgreens.com/bigthing. Check it out. And you guys know about Sunday. I've been talking about it actually for the last couple of weeks, and it's almost spring. Pretty much spring here, but it's almost spring. The weather's getting better. And for me, we've been working on the yard a lot. So we get everything going, and my wife's a big, she likes to make sure that spring and the flowers and new stuff's going on with the garden. And we have this lawn care now with Sunday. It makes it very easy to enjoy. And the days are longer. The flowers are blooming, and you can spend a lot of time in the yard. And it's really, really good. You can reclaim your weekend, man. Reclaim your yard. Sunday's everything that you need to get the lawn that you dreamed of. If you go to getsunday.com/bigthing and you enter your address to get a customized plan created just for your lawn, there's no trips to the store or hauling heavy bags, since they ship it straight to your home. You just need a hose. It's that easy. You just put it on the hose, and then you apply Sunday. You can fertilize your whole lawn in less time than it takes to watch an episode of your favorite TV show. It's easy and it's affordable. Some lawn care services are for more than $1,500 a year. Sunday's full season plan starts at just $109. Yeah. Sunday is offering our listeners 20% off these deals, guys. I'm telling you. Full season plans start at $109, and you can get 20% off, but you have to use that code. You got to use getsunday.com/bigthing, and you use that at checkout. That's 20% off your custom plan at getsunday.com/bigthing. All right, guys, we're back. Thank you once again to Sunday and Athletic Greens. Really appreciate them supporting the show, and you should support the show, and you should support yourself by getting our sponsors. It helps us. It helps you. Great. All right, look, it's been now almost like a month, 2 months, and I did a set at Flappers Comedy Club in Burbank, same place that we just did the live show for Big Thing, and where we're going to do the thing for Campia and Alba coming up this Sunday at Flappers. And I do Jake Lewis's show, and Jake had me on the show a couple months ago, and it was myself and Kate and Brett were all there. And as we were right before I was supposed to go up, there was a comedian that went up, and I watched him. I said, "Holy shit, man!" You got to remember, when I was at the Comedy Store as a regular, kind of going up every night, it's hard and for comedians to watch other comedians, not because they don't respect them. It's because you just seen a lot of stuff, and there's certain things that you watch, certain things you're like, okay, I can sit, and I got fucking ADD. I'm moving around all the time at the club and everything too. And at Flappers, I saw this dude, and I just sat down and I watched the set, and I laughed my fucking balls off, and I watched the whole time, and it really reminded me of how I felt when I used to watch Sebastian, and how when I used to watch Caparillo, and I used to watch those guys, and Steve Simone, and that's my intro for Opey. What up, Opey?
What's up, man? That was a hell of an intro, man.
Dude, I'm telling you, Kate and
I, Sebastian, that's a wow.
So, Sebastian, Sebastian went right when I got passed in 2003.
Okay.
So Sebastian, he had worked the door and everything too, but he was just starting to get he wasn't working the door at 2003, but he had worked the door, and then he started working, the OR and everything too, and he was starting to catch heat back then.
Right.
But he's just one of those guys I would always sit down and watch. And what you did that night, it's very natural. And it's just
thanks, man.
It is. It's just very natural, and it's fucking hilarious. But like, where are you from?
I was born in Nigeria.
Oh, yeah, right.
And I left to America when I was like 5 years old, and I grew up right outside of Washington D.C. in Silver Spring, Maryland.
Okay.
All over the area. I grew up in PG County, Howard County, Montgomery County. But yeah, that's where I would really say like I became myself.
Do you discover comedy and stuff here? Or do you discover it when you're young, even younger? You just kind of had that thing.
Oh, younger for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, Dave Chappelle was like my guy, and it still is my guy. Like he's also from Silver Spring. So like when I found that out, I was like, oh shit, I gotta do this. Yeah. Like I saw Chappelle's show, and it was just instant click. Like, oh, this is comedy. And then I saw Killing Them Softly, and he did it in DC at the Howard Theater, and I was like, "Oh, wait, people can do this? Oh, okay. How do I do this? Yeah. How do I get into this?" Yeah. So that's kind of how I got into this.
What's the first club you did?
First club I ever did would be the Irvine Improv.
Nice.
Irvine. I started comedy in Orange County though.
You did?
Yeah. Even though like I was from the DC area, I started comedy in Orange County.
How's that?
It's very different. I would say. Well, like I love Orange County. Because that's where I started. It's like a second home to me. When we moved over there, I was like 22 years old.
Okay.
And my mom's was like, "Hey, I want to start over. Can you live with me?" Because I was going to move to New York City after I graduated college.
Did you hit the comedy scene?
Yeah. Well, I was lying to my mom like I was going to go to law school.
Right.
That was my plan.
Right.
I'm gonna go to law school, and then it was like shortly after my dad had passed, and my mom was like, "Hey, I want to start over. I'm either thinking of moving to Houston or Los Angeles." And I was like, "Well, if you go to Los Angeles, I'll go." Because in my head, I was like, there's probably comedy out there. You know, I'd heard of the Comedy Store. Yeah. I'd seen a bunch of Laugh Factory clips on YouTube. So I was like, I'll probably this is how dumb I was. I was like, I'll get past at the Laugh Factory in like a week.
Yeah. So it's like my mom telling me I would marry Sandra Bullock if I came out.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
100%.
Like I had all these thoughts of like, yeah. And she was like, well, we're moving to Brea. And I was like, all right, that's a bet, La Brea. You know, that's what I was thinking. And it ended up being Brea, California, which is like an hour and a half from here. From LA. So I was just like, I didn't know until like 2 weeks before we were leaving.
Right.
Like my car was already gone. It was like on a truck on the way here. And my mom was like, no, we're moving to Brea, California. Like, and I looked it up on Google Maps,
so
and I was like, fuck, dog, are you kidding me? Yeah. And luckily for me, there's a comedy scene in Orange County.
Yeah.
There's a pretty thriving scene at the time. Now it's like whatever, but at the time it was like a scene.
Yeah.
It was like I could get up like twice a night at open mics for a new comic, and not a lot of comics were hitting it hard, so I got a lot of stage time very quickly.
Yeah, see, and what you just said, there's the reason why you are doing what you're doing right now, because like this is what I try to tell people too. Right, I'm in a point for me. Well, I was doing exactly that. I was going up 7 nights a week. I was going up twice a night, and you do the hustle, and you have to if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Once I stopped in like 2010, 2011. I really got into this, and I started doing kind of YouTube, and it's still a big regret of mine, but it's just something that I did.
But I'll say this, like, if you told me that you weren't like a comic, I would have been like, yo, this man's is like crazy. Because like you came up, you like like dead ass. Like when I was watching you both of y'all. I was just like, oh shit, I'd never seen y'all before. And like the bit you had about your, I don't want to say your bit,
good.
But your bit you had about your daughter and the Soprano stuff, I was like, that was like funny. Like I was like, I saw like the everything. So like for you to say that you don't do it a lot, I just was like, that's surprising to me.
Well, it was because it's not, and I wasn't being disingenuous. I just didn't do it. I don't do it a lot now.
Yeah,
like,
right.
But it's like it is riding a bike, right?
Yes,
Especially, and plus the fact that and it's not like I stopped and then I wasn't in entertainment. I do this, and I think by talking and every day and doing this, I use that now. And it's just the thing is, I have 2 kids. I don't have the ability. Yeah, I don't have the ability. Facts. Yeah, I don't have the ability to do.
You're a good father.
yeah. That's
what you're saying.
Yeah, right. but I'll go and see. But I flew to. Be careful when you say that. I flew to Vegas for one night to see The Flash. It's like,
so you're a good father.
Right, 100%. But
one night you could have stayed in Vegas and never came back.
It was the most boring fucking Vegas trip of my
life.
Yeah, because I went and I fly out, and normally, and you got to remember, by the same time I'm telling you that I'm doing stand up all the time, I had a buddy that was a promoter in Vegas and would fly us out for free and put us up at Caesars.
And do the spots?
And just come out all the time. And I was out every week in Vegas when I was working at Warner Brothers, but I was 30 years old. I didn't have any responsibilities.
Yeah.
So I go out now, remembering those trips. I go and I fly in, and I'm like, the first thing I do, I missed the whole event portion of in the morning. So I'm like, whatever. So I go by myself and I have a beer on the strip and I have a fucking a salmon rice bowl by myself, just eating. And I might as well have been in Hawaii on a beach. That's how relaxed I was.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is fucking amazing. So then I watch the movie, I do my review. The people are like, hey, Mark Ellis is like, hey, do you want to come? You want to go? We're going to gamble. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. You want to come? I'm like, I'm going to sleep.
Yeah.
I went to bed at 10:45. I woke up and got on my plane with no regrets, Opie. I'm telling you that right now.
That's honestly, when you're hitting the road, that's honestly probably the best thing to do. Like I'm now starting to tour more. Yeah. And I've just, like, when I first was like going out, or if I would do a festival, I would go out and get drunk, mess around. Now I'm like right back to my hotel and just like listening to my set. And then
that's what you said before. Is you can tell that you really want to do this. Like this is your life. You can tell it when you're on stage. Like this is what you want to do.
Yeah.
And it oozes out of you, man. I'm telling you. Like when we saw it, I was like, this is like, and it's one of the reasons I want to get you on now, because when you fucking blow up and I text you, you don't fucking blow me up. Because I'm telling you guys, check this cat out, man, because he is really fucking funny and he's really good, and his jokes are so smart in the way that he puts things together that there are things that you just, what the best comedians do is like, I was thinking about the other day, but I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge compliment, because like nothing makes me feel good, or at least I think the mark of a good comic is makes you go like, man, I wish I wrote that.
100%.
Man, I like Louis just came out with a joint, and I saw on YouTube, and he has this joke, and I'm like, man, I wish I wrote that. I'm so jealous.
Right.
And like that just shows you how good he is, considering everything. And like I was just like, whoa, like I need to get to that level, and I'm just thirsty to get to that level.
Yeah, and it's funny about him too, because obviously the shit that he's gone through and everything too. But like, I always talk about him in the OR. I remember one night, and it's a story that I've always told about comedians in general, regardless of what you think about his past.
Yeah.
I was in the OR one night, and this is when he was at the height of his height. The Louis show was fucking crushing, and it was, I don't know, it was maybe, if there were 7 people in the OR, I would be surprised. Yeah. But it was dead, and this is when the Comedy Store is thriving now.
Yes.
This is like 2004.
Wow. Because I know when I first got to Orange County, and I came into the Comedy Store once on a Monday, and it was like 4 people in the OR. Yeah. Like no one was there.
And that now it's just not that club now, but it was then. And they said, I remember them saying they were embarrassed because Louis came in to do a set, and they go, hey, it's kind of, do you still want to go up? And he looked at him like they were crazy for asking him.
Yeah.
He goes, of course I want to go up.
Yeah.
And he performed as if there were 7,000 people in the room. And I was like, that's the thing.
Yeah, that's the mental illness.
100%.
That's the mental. When you're a comic, it's a mental illness. It's like, oh, I have to say this thing. I'm compelled to say this thing. Like It's why like sometimes I'll drive down to Orange County. There'll be like 4 people, and they'll be like, "Sorry." I'm like, "Sorry for what? 4 people are here. That's great.
Right.
I get to talk to these 4 people."
Yeah,
And
you're
it's-
braver than I am. That's, give me a whole room of people that know me and like me, and I think what's great about what you do too is that like I watched it and I'm like, well, I know you probably have done a lot of the bits before, but it sounded like you were coming up with them on the spot, and that you were so like chill in that way that I'm like, oh, that's where I need to get to, and because I'm an up and comer.
Doing it for
Only
30
been
years.
out here for 30 years.
I like your shit, man. You're weird as fuck.
No,
I love how weird you are. Man.
It's totally awkward and weird, and that's what makes
I
it.
loved it.
100%.
Oh, and to be completely honest with you, just to let you know, like that night I was on mushrooms, so
Good.
I was just like,
There you go.
I was just kind of chilling. But a lot of that stuff was like newer bits that I'm working on and trying to make a bigger chunk.
Couldn't tell.
It's because I'm like really in this new. I'm about to hit 10 years, and I kind of want to like change how my approach to things, and I want to like kind of get more artful with it, and more like.
You want to say something?
I want to say something.
Yeah.
I want to say some stuff. Like, I want to like put my spin on and put my stamp on some stuff. So.
Well, you can, and I think that's why watching you as you were going through that, and I saw you kind of working through that type of stuff as well too, because you're like, there are things, and it shows the mark of just a good artist that can, and it's also it's a personality, right? Because there are some people in general that they might have a good thing to say, they're just either they don't have it or they're not likable, right? It's the truth. It's like somebody walks in a room, you're like, oh, that guy had a lot to say. Fuck that guy. It's like, why? I don't like him. It's like, but he was saying good things. Fuck him. As opposed to someone like you said, you get up there and you're like, oh well. Let me see what he's talking about, and as you get into these things, and there was some stuff that was like a little that was edgy, but it's in how you approach it, and this is why I kind of going into another conversation, I guess, around all this is that I remember having on, I think Sean Wayans came into Collider Live, and we were talking to him.
Oh wow, Sean's great.
We were talking to him about comedy and how like at the time, this is like 2018, and it was really, or 2019, it was really when it was people taking cameras into sets and and putting stuff and trying to do the gotcha moments for comedians and stuff too. And it's, how do you balance it? Like certain things. There's jokes I used to tell in 2003, 2004 that I have reworked because I know it won't go over the same way it went back then. So how do you approach that now?
Well, I feel like comedians, we're supposed to be master communicators. That's like what the job is like we're trying to communicate in a way so that like the response is laughter. And with the changing audiences and the changing times, I think the mark of a great comedian is like you look at the audience, you go, okay, I'm trying to communicate my feelings, and how do I get them to be receptive to that? Right. So there's nothing wrong with changing. There's nothing wrong with looking back at your old work and being like, oh, this needs to be fixed. This needs to be updated. Yeah. Like you would be like, if your phone broke, if your phone stayed the same and never updated and just like was always doing the same thing, right? It's not a good phone, right? So you
have a flip phone like my mother-in-law.
Exactly. So it's like at the end of the day, like I don't think there's anything wrong with updating your work, but as long as you're still staying true to what you're trying to communicate. That's right. Because it's all about the feeling. It's all about like your thought and your intention, and creating context is the marksman of like a great comic.
Well, it's also what you just said before too. It's also knowing who you are and what you want to say.
Exactly.
Right? Like, so like for you, as you want to start to kind of have more voice, say something too. Like for me, as I realized too, when I was doing, like, cause I looked, and it's stuff that you have to go through, as I'm sure you guys have both had very cathartic moments on stage where you realize something about yourself. And what I realized getting back into it, and I give Jake Lewis a lot of credit, because like I had done a set. Ellis was trying to get me back on stage forever, and I just wouldn't do it. And then I got up one night in New York and said, oh, and I kind of caught that bug. And during the pandemic, I started writing a lot.
Yes.
And I had nowhere to really go to do it. And I was like, I'm not going to go. I mean, if I went back to the store and started, like, I wouldn't go back to the store unless I was ready to go back to the store.
I 100% understand.
You know what I mean? Like, so like when a room like Flappers opens up, like with Jake, who says, hey, do you want to go up? It gives me enough time to say, all right, this is like a monthly spot to where I can work, do some stuff, get it out there. And I still told myself, yeah, well, I'm a different comedian now. I'm a different person now, going up and doing it. But I still in my head thought I was that 32-year-old kid, and I'm not.
Yeah.
And I'm not. And I realized it too for a lot of reasons. I got fucking tired up there. That's part one. And part two is I said something along those lines. All right, who's married? You know, and there was nobody clapped, and I was like, holy shit, that was part. And then the other thing, I was like, these aren't my peers anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they're your peers. Like
they are my peers.
They weren't my peers. They were, and I was like, you've got to pivot.
Yeah.
And you've got to say, and that's why, like you said with the Sopranos bit and everything too, you make that joke to where it can hit to someone like yourself, but it can also hit to the mother of four.
Definitely.
You know what
definitely.
I mean? And that's just how you write.
Like, I'm a big proponent of going up in different rooms.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, you don't want to just be able to speak to like a alternative crowd. You want to speak to a crowd that's broad. You want to be able to speak to a crowd that's, you know, an urban room. You want to be able to speak to a crowd of like my boy Dumbfounded. He's got this great show in Koreatown, and it's like all Koreans, but it's great. And it's like when I can connect with those people, I'm like, oh shit, like they fuck with what I'm saying, and they know about this experience that I had and its connection. So for me, I like to go in front of all rooms as much as possible, but I still try to keep my voice. I still try not to change too much.
Sure.
So I know that at the very least that this is still authentically me.
Yeah, that's right. So you go up in a lot of different rooms. Are you regular? What clubs are you regular at?
None.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
None in
that's-
LA.
That's crazy. How are you? Have you showcased?
Oh yeah. Not at the comedy store, but like at the Improv, I got passed, but then a new booker came in, and she's cool.
Yeah.
Like I'm like there,
Yeah.
but they don't give me spots. And
That's crazy.
I did some time in New York, and
Yeah.
I was at the Cellar.
And you're getting a lot of spots.
I was getting a lot of spots, but it's just New York's so expensive, and my
Right.
mom lives out here.
Right.
And, you know, she's getting older, and I want to be around for her.
Well, dude.
And
Maybe she'll decide to move to Newark. You'll be right there.
Yeah.
You'll be right
Right
in
in
the
the-
heart
yeah.
of.
that's the Brea of New Jersey.
Totally. That's nuts, man. Like you
yeah.
should, you need to get to the store, man.
I would love to get into the store. I mean, I get in the belly rooms from time to time from independent spots.
You gotta be in the OR. You gotta be in the OR. Like it's like
'Cause
yeah.
you don't get better unless you're around murderers.
Yep.
That's how it is. It's like basketball. Like you got to run with like some people who can like embarrass you, like
Yes.
dunk on you,
Yeah.
because it'll make you better. And yeah, like when I was at the Cellar, I had to follow like a Tell, and I had to follow like Greer Barnes, and they were making me work.
Yeah.
I was like getting buried night after night after
You
night.
have to.
But it made me so much better. I could feel myself being more confident.
Sparring with people who've been in
goats,
championship fights.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
goats,
100%. And you have to because
Yeah.
I remember when I was younger, I can't remember, like there was people, like, I was at the Improv and I remember going and doing this set and they put up someone really solid before me. I'm like, oh, why are they doing that? And I remember my friend was like, shut up, pussy, and go and do it.
True shit.
And I went up doing really well.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? You know, it's just the nerves. And then when I was at the store, like Rogan would do an hour,
Yeah.
Rogan, and I would go up after him and I would do fine. But
Yeah.
you'd have to
You have to do that stuff.
figure out, but you'd have to also watch the sets before you because you have to understand what the crowd is either laughing to. Are they tired after the last set?
Yeah.
Do you have to get them back? Like, what do you have to do? It's like you said, you have to work because you've got to pay attention to what's going on in the room.
Yeah, I mean, I've been like listening to a lot of like comics that I really aspire to be like, and they do this thing that I feel like is like tuning the audience.
Yeah.
Or not like the first couple bits won't necessarily do great, but they're just letting you know like how I joke.
Sure.
Like it's like this is my frequency. Let me get you all there. But that's so hard to do sometimes in LA when you only got like 10 minutes.
It's very
So
true.
it's like,
it's very true, and it's one of these things where you have to. And have you been traveling a lot too?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm starting to hit the road more.
Good.
I open up for Michael Rappaport on
Oh,
the road.
great.
Yeah,
Nice.
he's great.
Yeah.
He's the best.
Great.
I'm doing Houston, and then I'm starting to headline myself now too. I'm going to do Denver later next month.
Awesome.
And last in Seattle.
Well, good. Hopefully, I'll help you sell some tickets here today because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
telling you guys, like, don't miss out on this guy. Like, if you tell him where you're going to be exactly.
So I'm going to be at the Houston Improv next week, Friday, Saturday with
Okay, so
Michael
it'll be
Rappaport.
when this airs. It'll sort of be this week.
Yeah,
So,
this
it'll be
week,
this week. Okay,
And then I'm gonna be at the Comedy Works South,
Great.
in Denver, right outside of Denver, on the Memorial Day or is it Labor Day?
Okay.
The 25th or 26th.
Got it. Yeah.
That weekend is when I'm gonna be there.
I
should know
Memorial.
my dates better.
Yeah.
It's new to me. That's why I'm like figuring this all out.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's great. And then how did you get? Because Rappaport used to come on to Collider all the time.
Yeah.
And he was one of my favorite because he's a New York guy, so he's one of my favorite people.
I love rap.
He fucking kills me when he does those animal videos. Kills me. Anyway, so how'd you get hooked up with Rappaport?
It literally was over in December. I think his regular opener couldn't make a spot in San Francisco, so they hit me up. Or actually, it was like Oakland, Pleasantville, in this club called Tommy T's, which is great. I love that club.
Yeah.
And his agent asked my agent, "Do you have anyone who could open for him?" And then my agent was like, "This guy's Kristian Opey," and I went through, and he liked my shit.
Nice.
So
Good.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah. So I mean, I think that's the other thing too, because like when I was looking at, as you're talking about like the store, so the way it worked for me is, do you know Brett Ernst?
Oh yeah.
So Brett's a really good buddy.
That's great.
So Brett was the reason I got into the store because so this is a long time ago, and Sam Tripoli had just gotten passed like a couple months before I did.
Right.
And I was like, I need to get into that freaking club, right? Because it was one of those. It was just the place I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And Brett had been in there for a little bit. And he said, "Listen, actually, it's not true. Sam was actually made a couple of years before me. That's now that I think about it. He got passed in like 99, 2000. And so I got passed in 2002. So Brett was like, "Hey, look, I got a couple. You get recommendations. I'm going to recommend you, but you're working hard, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've been working." He's like, "I see it, like because I started out as when I was like 22, just screaming and yelling and bouncing off the walls.
Right,
and I used to start at 100 miles an hour and I would end at 100.
You was energy.
That's all. And my friend Paul D'Angelo was just an incredible comedian, and he was like, "You have to start at 0 and get to 100."
Yeah.
He's like, "You can't." And I started to do that, and I worked for the WWE for like
were you a writer?
Yeah,
tight.
For like it was like maybe a month and a half, 2 months. And
I was a very attitude era kid.
that's when I worked there.
You worked at was you doing the DX?
That was after I came in. So I was milk truck Kurt Angle stuff.
Oh, for real?
I didn't write that.
Sorry,
but I was Brian. Yeah, no. It was Brian Gertz wrote that. But I was. That's when I was there. And I came in during that period. But
wow, man.
Yeah, I'll show you a funny video.
I got some
afterwards.
questions.
Whatever you got. But yeah. So when I got back, and I still to this day, it was so funny. So I'm sitting down. I remember did a show. I got back from Stanford, and I had just left working there.
Right.
And there was this show. Where was that show that we did in Santa Monica? You remember the one right by the CPK? There was that room that we used to do in Santa Monica.
It was Improv Underground.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think you're right.
It's in like the alleyway.
So, it was in the alleyway underneath. So and Ari Shafir and Ari was in my class in the Comedy Store and everything too. And he and I were talking, and we were doing a show, and he's like, and I was talking about the WWE, and he's like, I don't know if we should talk about that stuff because everybody talks about writing at the WWE. And I go, really? He goes, no one talks about it. He's like, why aren't you talking about it? And I was like, yeah. And I still to this day have never done anything on stage about the WWE, but I just remember that. But going back to that, Brett was like, hey, look, come work out, and I did. And it's what you just said before, working. And I tell this story all the time. It's crazy that this happened because they would do this thing on Sunday. They would do. If you were showcasing, you could showcase Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And if Mitzi was there, she would watch you too. But if not, you can get up. So I started in August of 2002, and I would do you start with 3, and if you get past to 6, and then you go to 10, and then so I was doing 3, and I would go every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And she wasn't there for a while. It was like when she was starting, she was sick, but she was still coming into the club. And so I was going up, and then finally she came in he's good, let him start doing 10. And I would start doing 10.
Wow.
Like, don't pass me out, but you should start doing 10. So great. So there were a couple of people that got that. And I'm not going to call the guy out, but I remember having a conversation with this guy. And he's like, and this was in, I don't know, maybe if this was August, it was September, October area. And she wasn't coming in a lot. But I was getting time at the store. And I was hanging out. And I was there every day. That's where I met Ari and Steve Renazzisi and those guys and everything and became buddies with them. And I was hanging out, and I was just going and meeting people. And I was getting 3 spots a week at the Comedy Store and doing my other spots.
Yeah.
So, and this guy who was showcasing, he's leaving, and he's like, "I'm not doing this spot." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Why not?" He's like, "She's not going to be here again. She's never here." I go, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And then nobody inside of that showcase class got passed except me. And Ari was like, Well, one of the main reasons you also got passed is because you hang out. There's no doubt about it. It's like the comics knew who you were and everything too. And I remember my greatest moment in my life was Mitzi. You really good. Why should you come acting a club? And I was like, Yoda just spoke to me. Yeah. So it was incredible. But it's what you said though, Opie. You got to put in the work and you got to try.
It reminds me of the time how I got passed at the Cellar.
Yeah.
Where it was like it was a cheat code. It wasn't like people had heard about me. It was like Comedy Central was like having some comics they thought were cool, and the owner of the Cellar was just like, okay, I'm gonna watch these comics, and I went up, and I don't know why, but this calm just went over me that I never have.
Yeah,
I just sat down. I sat down
on stage.
I never sit down.
Yeah,
I just sat down. I just started talking, and I had like a very fine set, but like I kind of had these pops.
Yeah.
And I thought I didn't get passed because I was like, all right, well, I did fine. I'm like, why did I sit down? Why did I do that? And then I walk into the there's a restaurant right like from the place we auditioned. So I walk into the restaurant. I sit down with my boy Jason Cheney, hilarious comic, who also had been passed earlier. And as we walk in, Etsy comes in and just walks up to me and she was like, I really liked what you did up there.
That's amazing.
And I was like, oh my God. And she was just like I saw everyone like staring at me, and she was like, I can't wait to work with you. And so I sat down at one of the booths and I was like, did I just get passed? And my boy Jason was like, yeah, you idiot. Like, you got passed. And I was like, oh my God. He was like, you're on fire. He said, cool. You're on fire. And I'm like, that's so cool. He goes, no, literally, you're on fire. And like the sleeve of my jacket was literally on fire because I just held it over a candle. And so I just like, oh, shit.
3rd-degree burns on his arm as he's talking. Who cares? Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
It's amazing, man. Well, look, you got to figure out. I mean, it's how well do you know Mark Ellis at all?
Nah, who's Mark Ellis?
So Mark is my buddy who I started kind of schmoes with. He's a regular at the Comedy Store, and he's hilarious. He and I started schmoes together. I met him at the Comedy Store.
Right.
He's the one that's like he stayed doing stand up like all the time.
Right.
Like just about as seasoned as a pro as you're gonna get. And he's might be the coolest human being in the world. He's just the biggest heart and everything too. I got to introduce you guys because I just don't have the connections at the store that as I used to, but like. I got to talk to Alice. Hopefully, there's ways. I don't know the showcase like protocol and stuff too. There,
I know they just passed a bunch of new people who are really funny. Like, my boy Darius Bennett just got passed. Laura Peak just got passed. She's hilarious. So like, I understand. Like, I'm not like, oh man, bro.
No, you don't seem like that at all.
Everyone there, I'm like, yo, these are great comics, and I get it.
Right,
I get it. It's ultra.
But you just need your opportunity. You need that. You need that seller moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I just need to like. I also know that I need to hang out more because I'm like I do a lot of spots. Yeah. And then I also write for TV sometimes. So like I'm like sometimes I'm just like off on script for a second. But I feel like I definitely with the strike coming up, I'm about to do a bunch of
stuff and just keep doing it. Yeah, for sure. Well, good man. Look, I will call Ellis for sure and introduce you guys because anything that I can do to see you kind of because like it's just one of those things where we're sitting, Kate and I were just talking and we're just like. Yeah, that guy's got it. So are you doing Flappers anytime soon? Maybe not.
No, I put in my avails. They haven't hit me back. But yeah, I put in my avails. I know.
You want to do my set tonight?
I'll do it.
I'll go up with you. You don't say that in comic. You don't say that in comic.
We'll do like the buddy comic, it's we finish each other's sandwiches.
I did that when I had, I think one of the nights I went up with Jamie Costa. And Jamie was like, "Hey, would you want?" Because Jamie obviously does the like he becomes Robin Williams.
Yeah.
He doesn't just do an impression. And he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna be there. You want to just because he likes the way I fire him like scenarios. Because a lot of times people will be like, "Hey, do the Robin Williams thing, go!"
Yeah,
and it's like I'm like, if you didn't know, Robin Williams was actually first cast in Empire Strikes Back. Here's Robin as the Emperor, and then he just goes into
the character.
Yeah, and so like he's another one just kind of watching that in that moment. And I like doing those bits with him sometimes on stage. But anyway, yeah. So watching. You have your avails on your what do you have it in your site as far as the where you're performing or
as far as like
if people wanted to go check you out.
If people want to go check me out, honestly, right now the best place to find that out is Instagram because I was super sloppy with some stuff as far as like promoting myself because I'm such a moment by moment person.
Yeah, and
I realized that like there's a set that came out recently on Don't Tell that like did really well.
Okay,
and a bunch of people like, what are you performing? I'm like, oh, I gotta like. get like my stuff.
You gotta have tickets ready. Yeah,
I gotta have tickets ready, and I realized that's on me. That's an L on my part because I didn't realize it was gonna do that. Right. I should have believed in myself more. I guess.
But it's also crazy with social media, right?
Yeah,
because it's crazy because like we had an interview last week with a friend of Katie Sackhoff who's on Mandalorian and she Battlestar Galactica and she's fantastic and she's been a friend for a long time, but she was on. And we had a bunch of clip outs that we put on. And on TikTok, one of the clip outs did like almost 2 million. And then on Instagram, it did like almost 3 million. And I'm like, and people are finding the show that way. And I was like, I just put the clips out. You know, you hope. But when it happens, it's like, it is the marketing. Like, how do you find the show? How do you find the show? How do you find you? It's just part of how you market now.
Yeah. Like, I literally am meeting with someone tomorrow about like my social media and like my websites to just get everything organized and ready to go, because I know, especially now that I'm like about to hit stand up so hard that there has to be a way for people to find you.
Yeah, and so look,
your stuff.
And as much as you hate social, you know, like
yeah,
I hate
don't
it. I'm
like social media.
I gotta do it though.
It's my favorite thing I learned.
I try to respond to people too, but sometimes it's like,
it's hard. Well, I
said
said this was my favorite comment when I talked to you that night. I was like, "Are you on Twitter?" You're like, "No." I was like, "I love this guy."
Yeah,
I hate Twitter. I hate Twitter. I hate it. I use it for promotion, but if it like, and I was looking at the stats, and like a lot of people find my stuff through Twitter, and like, would you be mad if Twitter went away? No. I hope it goes away.
Same.
I think it's destroyed society.
Same. Yeah. So. I think Twitter, Instagram, all of them are very bad for people. But if you want to follow me,
get on there.
Opey Jokey.
Opey Jokey.
Plug your shit. Yeah.
At Opey Jokey. OPEY Jokey.
Yeah, so. and check them out, man, because like I said, like right now, Comedy Store and these people, if you're not seeing them there now, you're gonna be seeing them there. And can I ask how old you are?
I'm 34. 34.
Oh, still fucking young.
Yeah,
you're really young. And
in our day, we had to call people to come to shows.
It's true. Yeah,
you spent all day calling up people. Hey, come on out. I need 15, or they're not going to let me go.
Or we'd be barking. Yeah, I used to bark at the Irvine Spectrum.
Yeah,
to try to get people to come see me at the Comedy Juice.
This is why I kick myself, Opie, when it comes to the hiatus I took, because from 2012 until 2018, I had I still have a good audience now, but like I was with Collider and AMC, I had a really big audience.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing stand up, and I didn't do stand up at all. And I said this is my this is my stage, and I realized that it was a mistake, because at the time, when I was doing stuff, I couldn't promote through social. I couldn't promote through stuff. I couldn't have people come out and now like we're doing the show at this time we have just done the show at Flappers, but it's like.
And Opie did great.
Opie did great. Yeah, we took your spot.
Everyone did great. Everything did great. Yeah. Honestly, that was a fun show.
Oh, the one we did. Yeah, the one we did.
That was a super fun show.
It was fun, and I just like that. I don't know. I just like that club. I like that room.
I like Flappers too. Yeah. It's not like one of the marquee clubs, but I do love going there because like they treat you nice, and it's like, you know, it's a really good spot, and the parking's amazing.
Parking is really
parking
easy.
there is so good.
It's the truth. And you don't. Yeah. It's like one of the things with the Comedy Store when I used to play.
Man.
You gotta go
up that King Street.
You gotta go up King Street, but if you're regular though, you're just taking a risk. You're basically putting your car through the ringer.
Yeah.
You go. It's like it's like my favorite. It's like they're gonna some guy who's just stoned. I used to get stoned when I was working there, and that's like I was I tell this story often, but I was so Rick Ingram, who's a really good friend of mine, and we used to get pretty hammered, stoned when we were working there. But like I did something that a lot of people don't do, and I don't know if anybody's ever done it since. I got made a regular and then started working there.
Oh, interesting.
Because I tried to cheat. I did cheat the system. I would get regular spots, and then I would get employee spots. Wow. So I would get spots. They probably have changed this, because I wouldn't be surprised if they call it the Harloff rule now. But like I would take those spots, and then I would get another spot in the same, like an hour, 2 hours later in the OR. Then I would get more spots in the belly room that you'd get for employees, or then I would get booked on the show. So I would be getting spots like fucking crazy at the store because I did that. But I was the world's worst employee, because who gives a fuck if I got fired?
Yeah.
And it was like, I remember they had a ladder up there where you change the awning, and it was like this shaky fucking ladder that I don't know how anyone hasn't died. And I remember Dean, who was the manager, goes, "Hey, why don't you change the awning?" I go, "I can't." And he goes, "Why?" I go, "I'm afraid of heights." And he goes, "Are you really?" I'm like, Yeah. And he's like, he goes, yeah, right. And but he didn't care. And then we got along really well. But like I'm telling you, I was the world's worst employee. I should not have been working there. Ingram talks about we got stoned and like Ingram goes, where's Harloff? They go, there he goes. I was leaving. And they knew what I was doing.
But that's what I love about that place is that it feels like there's this looseness to it that lets creativity like just flourish.
Yes,
because like all the door guys are getting up. They're really good comics. Even now, like I'm friends with a lot of the door guys, and they're all funny. They're all rippers.
Well, Sebastian was a fucking door guy. I mean, Ari was a door guy. Like all those tons. I mean, that's where you get spots, and that's where you meet people, and that's where like you get hazed and shit. But like anything else, it's part of it. Yeah. And then but it's also you get respect. Like it's like Sebastian will tell you too. Sebastian was when he started out, nobody thought he was going to be doing what he's doing now.
Yeah.
And then he just fucking worked. He's a workhorse.
I heard like this story about him where like he was Bill Burr's neighbor. I think something. I heard something about that. And Bill Burr was like he was like lived right across the hall from him, and Sebastian was like, "You do comedy?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "I think I'm gonna try that."
Is that? I don't know. I don't know, but because I thought Burr started in Boston.
No, Burr started in Boston, but this was like Burr moved to L.A. And Sebastian hadn't even started doing stand up yet.
What, really?
Yeah.
I don't know because I don't remember Burr being on the scene that much during that time because I mean I'm not saying it's not.
This was
true.
like in 2000. Maybe it is a story. Maybe it's another comic he was talking about, but I think it was Sebastian. He was just like Sebastian was like, and he's like he left LA, came back, and then he saw Sebastian in the OR just destroyed. He's like, what the?
I don't know.
My neighbor.
Very well could be true. I just remember. I mean, Sebastian when I got there in 2002, Sebastian was already going up, and Sebastian had been there. I think Sebastian started working at the store in like 98, 99. I thought that Burr was already in Boston. Maybe he came in, was here, and then left.
Yeah, went to New York.
Very possible. Very possible. But like, yeah, Sebastian. That's like one of my fucking prized possessions over there. So with the three of us, me, Ernst, and fucking Sebastian went on the road together, and like it was.
What club is that?
That's the Saboba Casino in where the hell is that club? It's like it's somewhere north. Yeah, Saboba Casino. Well, Brett's ex girlfriend used to book it, and Ingram and I did it together, and Sebastian.
What? No, that Brett Ernst, not me.
Yeah, no, it's not you. No, not you. You're right. You don't even remember. You remember when you headlined that night?
That was crazy.
Well, the craziest thing is I don't even think Sebastian headlined. I think Ernst headlined.
Oh wow!
Which is crazy. Yeah.
Oh wow!
You're telling me that you're gonna get the guy who's doing the roller scope spin?
Wow, that's a great Sebastian.
He's the best.
I love him.
Yeah.
I love him.
Well, good. Look, man. So keep me updated with what you're doing because I want to
definitely.
I want to see for sure, and then I'm going to talk to Ellis, and then for you guys. Check him out on his social. Check him out where he's going to be. And Opie, tell him one more time where you're going to. So this is the next. You're going to be in Denver.
Next week, I'm gonna be in Texas.
You're in Texas.
I'm in Texas.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna do Houston, and I might do a week in Austin. I'm still figuring it out.
Okay, so that is so when this is airing on Monday, so that's this week, guys. So make sure you check him out.
Houston,
hit him. Yeah, and I'm
Michael
gonna
Rappaport.
And Houston with Michael Rappaport. So I'm going to put Opie's social in the description, and I'll even give you a little iCard right there to find him. Thank you so much, dude, for coming in here and
thanks for having me, man.
Yeah,
you guys are fucking cool as shit. Anytime.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we'll definitely. Well, I'm gonna hold you to that. All right.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I'm really busy. I'm gonna be in Houston. Man, Opie blew up and let's go.
He's gone. He's done. I'm not talking to those fucking nerds. All right, guys. Thanks again, and let's get back to me talking about other shit. All right. I love that dude, man. I'm telling you. I think check him out on Instagram. Let him know you found him from this show. I think he's going to be around. And I think we're going to hear more and more and more about him. And he's opening for Rappaport. So if you had a chance to check him out, if you're going to be anywhere near where he's going to be, go see him and let him know after the show you found him on this show. Okay, that's everything, guys. That was the show today. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate it. I want to see all the comments. And again, if you're brand new to the show, you've just been here for the first time, you found us through Katie or you just found us through some of the clip outs, thank you. Show a little, will you? Hit that button. Get us to 100,000. We're working on it. Thank you once again. I love you all to death. You guys are the best, and I appreciate you, and we'll see you on the flip side.